Gallery for Trauma Dumping. I'm your host, Alex, and today I'm joined with a special guest. Their name is Lily. Hello, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm hanging in there.
Felt.
Today, Lily is going to share her story with us. So, Lily, you can go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, I'll just do a little intro just to know personality-wise. My name is Lily, of course. I was born in Cleveland, but most of my childhood and adult life was raised in South Carolina, so very thick in the Bible Belt. I do currently live in New York with my partner, and I work and live here, blah, blah, blah. But, however, my trauma dumping is about the religious trauma that I experienced at the hands of, the church I was a part of, growing up in that environment, and just, the repercussions and the, healing that I have been slowly but surely doing as an adult, overcoming what really wasn't normal to be raised in, and like what I saw. So, things of that nature.
Alrighty, I'm hoping I can kind of interject too, because I have my own religious trauma as well.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yay, we can bond.
Alrighty.
But okay, so background is, like I said, I was born in Cleveland, Ohio. So I technically am a Midwestern girly, but my heart is in the South because I moved there when I was 9, and I lived there up until I turned 26. I recently just moved to New York, so yay, transplant, don't sue me. But for the majority of my time in South Carolina living there, I was raised very strictly religious. I was born into the church. So the timeline is, my parents were born and raised Catholic. My father is a Slavic Catholic, and my mom is an Irish-Italian Catholic. Yeah, whatever, they're Catholic, whatever. They get married, have me, have my siblings, cool, yay, woohoo, family, right? But I was too young, and sitting with my siblings, we were in the Catholic Church, but we didn't get to that point where, we have confirmation and all the other, like, traditionally Catholic experiences, because they converted to a different Christianity subculture, subgenre, I don't know, whatever. Baptism, or from like John the Baptist, that's like his subgenre of Christianity. So there's Methodist, Protestant, evangelicals, and then there's Baptist. So we were Midwestern Baptist for a while. And then whenever I turned 9, around in 2006, we moved to South Carolina, and everyone's like, oh, did you move because of the recession? No, my dad was like, man, Ohio sucks. Let's leave. Really? I have an idea. So we moved to South Carolina. We lived in Columbia, which is the capital, so right down in the center. Fun fact, it is the first Confederate state, so remember that. That'll come up later. First to secede, they will never let me forget that. And my parents put me and my siblings in a Christian school, but specifically a subsection of baptism called Southern baptism. So there's Christianity is like a whole umbrella. There's some people don't consider Catholicism as Christianity. I think if you worship a God who had Jesus and all that, I think that counts. Whatever. I'm no theological expert. So there's Christianity is like Catholic, blah 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 blah. So like I had said, we were in the church in the Midwest, just standard Baptist, like nothing special. But when we moved to South Carolina, they have and those who are from the Bible Belt will know when I say this, there's a subsection of Baptist called Southern Baptist. And I think in the same orbit of Southern Baptist, because there's some strict, some not so strict. We were on more at the strict end. I think the most famous example would be those people on TLC, like the Duggars, and then Welcome to Plathville, and kind of those types, jean skirts to your ankle, not cutting your hair, clean cut, my 3-finger collarbone shirts, no tank tops, blah blah blah, very modest shenanigans.
Is that the one where you can't dance either?
Oh yeah, girl. Yeah, no, it's crazy. So, the reason how, like, just to give an intro, so Alex reached out to me because I made a not so viral video on TikTok about things that happened at the school that I went to, the Christian school, that, happened. And I was like, looking back as a somewhat old adult now, these aren't very normal. So I made that joke, and then they reached out to me, and here we are. But, so I was at this school from 4th grade to 10th grade. And when I tell you I don't remember a lot of it, but I do, it definitely affected how I behave now. I'm very normal now, as you can see. I'm super normal. I'm very cool and normal and can be trusted with most things. But at the time, I think my, like, pea soup of a brain, like, forming and, like, having these, like, I go through puberty, like, in this environment, blah, 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 blah. It just, like, kind of, like, messes you up because it's like,
Right.
oh, I'm not allowed to do these things that are, like, basic human functions and feelings and da-da-da-da-da. So and also, it was a very small community. So my initial, like, when I got there, I was used to public school. So I went to public school in the Midwest. And when I moved here, I was like, what do you mean my fourth grade class is only 15 people? What do you mean the largest graduating class at this high school is 20 people? Like, so from 4th grade to 10th grade, just, like, had the same classmates. And, like, some new people would come in and out, or some people would leave. But it was basically, like, a very consistent class of, like, classmates I just had. And I still am in touch with a couple of them. Most of them are married, most are on, like, their 5th or 6th kid, or some are, like, doing whatever. But it's just, like, I only had these people, and then I had these teachers and these pastors and, like, these things. So it was we called it the bubble growing up. I called it the bubble, at least. But so it was very, like, small.
Yeah.
And then, so, yeah.
I graduated with, like, a class of 120, which still is a little bit, it's more than that, but still smaller class sizes in general. And I just find
it's like no privacy almost. Yeah, no, it's like like interpersonal bickering and, like, whatever.
Yes.
So and it was another thing too, was that usually if you went to school at this, facility, academy, whatever, dungeon, I should call it, lair, prison. No, when you went to school here, it was beneficial and almost encouraged to be a member of the church as well, because, fun fact, if you were a member of the church, they would knock a couple dollars off the tuition.
Oh.
So it's like, hey, you want to come to school here? You could also come to church here, and we'll kind of give you a little discount. And my dad was like, oh, I love saving money. He's like, oh, yeah, well, $100 off per kid. Don't mind if I do. I'm like, Robert, okay. But, so a lot of the times I was going to school with these people, and then I would see them at church. And, oh my God, it sucked. I'm like, it sucked ass. Oh my God, I'm gonna be real with you. Even being born in it and, like, being around it, I knew I was kind of an outsider. I just didn't really care for religion. Like, looking back, I was like, what do you mean this, like, invisible entity is gonna kill me and send me to the fiery pits of hell because I stole a 50-cent bubblegum thing from the candy store? Ooh, I'm going to hell. Ooh, whatever. But I digress. But so, growing up in that community, it's really small, and then just, like, I feel like it almost stunted my social growth. So obviously I'm quirked up and I'm funny now, but I felt like I didn't thrive in that environment as well as I could have in, like, maybe public school or something like that.
Right. Did you feel like a lot of, like, the families that also went to the church, they all, like, already knew each other really well or were related? Because I felt like it felt like almost everyone at in my area, they, like, knew each other, or, like, they're married, or, like, they're related somehow. And I'm like, how are they related again?
We had a couple families that were like one family had, like, 7 kids, and there was, like, basically a kid in each grade from their family. So it's like, graduating class, oh, here's another one. Here's another kid in this class. Oh, here's a kid in their kindergarten. Here's a kid in their middle school. It's like, oh my God. they all, and like basically if you went to church there and you went to school there, that was kind of like, that's like the ring you would run around. So like you would just see these people like as like more often than not, like, you know.
Yeah.
Whereas like some people would maybe go to church further away or like in a different county over, but this school that I went to was like the closest and like most affordable at the time Christian school to go to. So they would just, you know, have their kid at the academy and then they would go like, I don't know, be Methodist or something.
It makes sense. That happens.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. But so growing up in that environment sucked ass. Do not recommend it. If you have kids, do not send them to a private Christian academy. They will hate you for a really long time. Growing up in that, so I had to change like everything about like I had like a very restrictive childhood. So with my dress code, being a girl, I had, you know, I was saying like the three fingers on the collarbone, like my shirts couldn't be lower than this. I couldn't wear like tank tops, so like 3 fingers, but honestly it was more like fist or whatever. So I had to like no like thick tank tops. They had to have sleeves. We couldn't wear open-toed shoes without like some sort of sandal strap. Like we couldn't wear like flip-flops basically because they thought they were trashy. Which I'm like, girl, we are in South Carolina. It is nothing but trashy here. We had to wear skirts below the knee or to our ankles. And I mean, we couldn't have like excessive piercings in our ears. We can only have maybe like 2 holes max in each ear. Like no cartilage or anything like that. Obviously, no facial piercings because like, ooh, don't defile your body that God made perfect for you. No. And then, you know, just like they were also like really nitpicky, and they always singled me out because I was like one of the 2 quote unquote alternative weird kids as much as I could be, because, you know, like very constricting environment. You can't really rebel as much as you can. Even so, like no black nail polish, no like skeletons on your shirts, no like talking about like gothy crap as they would call it, stuff like that.
That was just me in high school.
Yeah, I'm just like, well, what am I supposed to talk about? The Bible? I ain't read that shit. But and then with men it was more they couldn't have beards. They had to have really short hair. Like their hair could not be touching their ear tips. Their shirts, yeah, it was weird. I don't know. They all had sticks up their asses, honestly. And then their shirts had to be collared, tucked into their pants. They could only wear denim. We could only wear denim every other day, because those were like chapel days. So like on Wednesdays we would go to chapel, and then like Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, we would just have Bible class, which was also a class, by the way, of course. At religious school, you have to have Bible class. And I thought it was really funny that if you failed or flunked Bible class, you would get expelled. So I was like, man, I should have taken up on that. Should have just let myself get expelled, but I was too much of a scaredy cat to like tank my GPA.
When you said you could only wear the jeans on certain days of the week, like the jean skirts and stuff like that, and you said Wednesdays, immediately I went, on Wednesdays we were pink, but instead of Wednesdays we were
jean skirts. Yeah, no, and when I say jean skirts, I'm thinking like those like Mennonite crap, like awful, like you get a Goodwill and they're on the 25-cent rack now, which sucks because like all these girls in New York are wearing like the long jean skirts, where I see them, I get like jump scared because I'm like, oh, don't try to preach me or anything, but they're like obviously like they're like beautiful women and they just are wearing jean skirts because they're trendy right now. But I just cannot get by it because I'm like, you look like a Mennonite, you look like you call me a slur, I'm gonna go away now.
I feel that 100%.
Yeah, but so that's the kind of environment. So going from like fun, cool public school with like a lot of people from a lot of places to there are 2 brown kids in the entire like school of like 100 people. So very closed, very, very closed. So yeah, I grew up in that, and I went from 4th to 10th grade, and just, you know, go through the motions, and obviously I am weird. As Jug had said, I'm a weirdo. I didn't fit in. Let's look at this glasses chain. That's weird. So I like manga, I like anime, I like comics, I like, you know, like media, fandom, movies, and those were some of the things that we really weren't allowed to consume because they weren't like godly or whatever. Like these people, like some of the rules that, and if you saw on my TikTok, but I'll reiterate them here, some of the things that we weren't allowed to do whether we were on school campus or outside in our like personal lives. We weren't allowed to go to movies rated higher than PG. We were not allowed to attend any sort of dance, no prom, no homecoming, no formals. We couldn't go to concerts, even if they were like Christian concerts like Flyleaf or Winter Jam or whatever. We, couldn't post anything on social media because social media was still kind of bubbling up at the time. So there was really only like MySpace, Facebook, and like Instagram had just started kind of rolling out. So we couldn't post anything that would be bad or like, like make the school look bad. Which, I mean, obviously don't like be like bad on social media, but like they're like, ooh, you were posting with the Spider-Man and Spider-Man is not godly. You're detention or something like that. I don't know. It's very exaggerated, but it's like along the lines of that. Yeah. I'm trying to think of what else the crap that we weren't allowed to just like we like obviously like we couldn't have dramatic appearances. So like I was the first time I ever colored my hair, I think I had just turned 17 and it was like box dye from like Publix that was like just darker brown. Like I couldn't do because I was as well as I could be. I was like on the super like, and when I say fringes, I mean like fringes of being seen in emo. So like I couldn't do like pink or blue hair. I couldn't do raccoon tails. I couldn't have any facial piercings. I was like outside of the club looking in, not even being able to get in. I don't even know how I even got on the same block kind of thing. So very restrictive. So I feel like with that, it was very socially stunted because I'm in this horribly unexpressive environment with the same people I've known since I was 9. It's basically I felt like a tiger in a cage. I had no stimulation, no ball in my enclosure to entertain me, and I just had like all these people who honestly just didn't like me. Like again, I was weird. I liked anime, manga. I doodled. I was like one of those kids who would draw anime, whatever, cartoons. So like they're like, "Ooh, you like anime?" I'm like, "Yeah." You're going to hell. Okay.
Okay.
What do you want me to do about it? So it was one of those things. Basically, if you had any indication that you were out of line of like what they wanted, it was just it's like, we're going to make fun of you and make your life hell. Love my Christian school. So kind of like that. I can, if there's like any more details that I can provide, I'm bubbling over and like trying to think as much as I can. But honestly, I'm just trying to remember because it is a lot of suppressed. Like I don't want to remember this anymore. I'm gonna put this in the back of my brain.
Yeah, but no, I get that. Religious trauma is kind of like that because I feel like for me, my stuff was kind of different. I didn't like. With me, everyone in my school was religious, but they all came from different religious backgrounds. So I would hop in, be like, let's try out this church. And of course it would be like, oh, we're going to save you. And they're going to play like the really dramatic music and everyone's going to cry. But then the next week we'll go back and it's like, oh, it's like a teen club and we're going to like dance and like, but I was like, wait, last week we were just crying because we're all sinners and we're all blah, blah, blah. And then this next week it's like, oh, teen dance club. And then trying my hand at another religious, so I'd go with another friend to a different church and be completely different. It was Wednesdays is when they would have teen nights. So I would always go to different ones because I was trying to find myself. Yes.
Does the word Awana mean anything for you?
I've heard of it, yes, but I don't think I did anything with it.
I think it's kind of more lean towards Methodist and Baptist, but it's just like teen and youth after school like group where you would just like it was basically it sucked because it's like I didn't want to go. My parents, like when we were a part of the church, we would go to school we would go to Sunday service in the morning, Sunday service in the evening, and then Wednesday evening service. And I was like, that's 3 days, like 3 times a week going to church. I'm sick of these people. How much do they have to say? Like, goddamn.
Yeah, no, I get that.
The Bible is not that big.
I was trying to find where I belonged because I felt very lost for a long time. So that's why I dipped my toe here, I dipped my toe here there. And because that's what you just did in a small community. Like, everyone went to church on Wednesdays, everyone went to church on Sundays. Like, you found what religion worked for you. And I feel like I jumped around so much. It wasn't until like I had some other crazy stuff happen that really opened my eyes to be like, wow, yep, this is not for me. But it was like kind of like finding your friends, and like you just kind of like gravitated like, oh, my friends go to this church, I guess I'm going to do the same thing. And yeah, I could go on. Yeah,
no, I feel you. I feel like I think I had probably like a more lonely experience, because at least you had like I don't want to assume, but I'm assuming you had people to go with church. Like, I didn't have any friends. Like, I have one very close friend. I consider her my best friend. Like, we went to the same church, but we also share the same trauma. So like, we're besties. And then I have another friend who was in my class at the time, but she stayed I eventually left, but she graduated from the school. So we've kept in touch and rekindled, and we're like, hey, we're doing good. Let's hang out. Let's go for a beer or whatever. Things like that. Just it's like, oh my God, I don't want to be anywhere near these people. So like, as I got like more into my teen years, I was like, I cannot stand this, but I'll suffer through it, because I was more scared of getting in trouble than I was like, like anything. Because it's like, my mom was kind of a hard ass about, like, my mom like was really into the religion. Like, she used it as like, social networking, and she liked it. And like, I was like, I was like, this is actual hell for me. So I started like skipping Awana. I would like just like hide out in the car, or like hide out on the bench, or like I would just like sit outside of the sermons and just like not be like in like the youth group. I would just like skip. Basically, it was like cutting class. And then my mom found out. She's like, why are you doing this? I'm like, because it sucks. And she's like, don't do that again. I'm gonna. I was like, okay. So I don't know. I think it was a thing where the society that was like around that, or like community society, the community within that bubble just didn't like me. Like that ass. Like, this is like, we don't like you. You're different. You're quirked up. We don't really like that around here. So we're not going to include you in anything. We're not going to be nice to you. We're going to bully you. We're going to make you feel weird. So I was like, why would I want to be in a community that is so unaccepting, and like try to insert myself in that, when it's obviously very clear that like nobody fucking likes me? So I'm gonna go over here on the bench and just wait until like the service is over, and then I can go home. So it was one of those things, and that's again going back into like why I feel like so socially stunted in my teenage years, because like I wasn't able to freely express myself creatively. I wasn't able to like socialize with like other people. But I will say that while we were in a very constricting environment, there were some things where like my mom was like really into it again, but my dad was like, put this on record, sorry Robert, I love you, but I think he is slightly autistic. So apple don't fall far from the tree. So I think they clocked me on that, which is why I know that they didn't like me. But there were things like certain things that I would do. Like, I was, again, really into anime, manga, comics, and I'm also a cosplayer. So these were like the only things I really had going for me. And it's like, if you take away X-Men and if you take away Batman, I'm dead ass, I'm going to kill myself. And he was like, okay. So I would, like, they let me go to anime conventions. They would chaperone me, of course. And I'm not wearing like jean skirts and like having long hair. Like, they would let me wear pants, and I could wear like my Hitalia shirt and like my glasses and stuff like that. Like, I was wearing, like, I looked pretty normal when I went to these cons, as normal as you can when you're at an anime convention.
Right.
But they would let me go to these cons. They would let me dress up. They would let me like watch anime, read manga. I would get a lot of things from the library. They even would let me attend a youth and teen group for like anime. Like, it was just like once a week on Thursdays at 7:00, it would just be in like a little room in like the youth area, and we would just watch like 2 episodes of anime, and then we'd have snacks, and we would just all talk, and then we would leave, and that was it. It was like for like an hour and a half max, and then it was awesome, because it's like it got me to socialize outside of my small Christian bubble, as well as like the conventions I went to. And then with the cosplay, it helped me, explore my creativity. So I was like doing makeup, wig styling, sewing, going to thrift stores and finding materials, because I was poor, had no job. I was like 14. I'm not working at Chick-fil-A. No, no, thank you. It is not my pleasure to serve you. But so I will thank my dad for like kind of loosening the reins on what I was allowed to do, because I think in his heart of hearts he knew like the craziness of how restrictive a lot of these things that they wouldn't let us do were like. Was like he was like, what do you mean I can't watch X-Men? I can't go see the new Fantastic Four Rise of the Silver Surfer movie? Come on,
right?
Because he's a nerd too. Because he lived through like the satanic panic of like D&D and stuff like in the 80s, and like he was like into all the nerdy stuff, so he knows like this stuff isn't inherently evil. It's just like nerdy and like different. It's not bad. Like there's plenty of Christian nerds. Like look at the guy who made Freddy Five Nights at Freddy's. He's like Christian. So so that was nice. But like I think my mom really liked it because of the restrictions. So she liked that like they weren't promoting alcoholism, because my mom's Irish and Italian Catholic, and that's like a lot of alcohol and like substance abuse in that community. So she liked how like if you're smoking cigarettes, if you're drinking alcohol and wine, like that is unforgivable and you can't do that. So like all of these people we would go to church with were like stone cold. So we're like no beer, no wine, not even like a sip of like wine at communion or whatever. And she liked that. So
I can definitely see that. Like having a partner who is an alcoholic. So my partner is an alcoholic. I can definitely see the appeal of that in the sense of like not having to worry about, being tempted and stuff like that.
Yeah, like not having to relapse.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, no. Everything else though, I'd be like, no, thank you. I wish they would normalize, like, just like. I know I'm getting off on a tangent, but like,
you're fine.
And not like having the alcohol and stuff like that, because I feel it's so like normalized in society. Like everyone drinks. So like if you're like, no, I don't want to drink, everyone's like, well, why not? Why don't you want to drink? Well, because I don't feel like drinking. Like, why do I need to give any? Why do I need a reason?
Like, why do you need to know? It's in your beeswax. Leave me alone.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So like I totally get that appeal, but at the same time, like, no, not for me.
Thanks. No, but even then, it's like I'm still like smoking weed and like drinking beer and like stuff like that in New York, and I'm like a 27 adult person. I can like do whatever I want. I'm not doing it in a harmful way, like where I'm harming my body or I'm cripplingly addicted to it. It's definitely recreational, but they were like even recreational, like anything of the sorts is like basically like piddling with the devil or whatever. I'm like, whatever, girl.
Smoking the devil's lettuce.
And coming from a state where it's like illegal to like anything like cannabis wise was illegal up until a certain point where they legalized hemp was like, so.
Oh no, I get it. Crazy. I'm struggling here now because they did have stuff legal-ish here. So
like CBD.
Yes, and you could get edibles and stuff like that. So we've been good, and then just like 2 months ago they made it illegal.
Oh, that sucks.
So you can't even like
the border.
I can go to Minnesota, I can go to Illinois, and I can go to Missouri.
That's crazy.
But in the state of Iowa, you can't buy
county. That's crazy.
Yeah. So no, I get that, because then it's like, damn it! I finally just found something that I truly like, and then now it's
sucks. No, and I think like with the restrictive, like how the restrictions in the community, it led to other things slipping through the cracks. So like obviously, everyone is no stranger that most like Christian groups or communities do have a lot of like sexual, how you say, bad things happening. So like there was like we wouldn't have like there was a church that we were a part of prior to us moving to South Carolina that had like a huge sex scandal. It was like the TLDR was basically like the pastor and his son were like molesting their like adopted daughter, and it was like I was like, oh my god. I was like, wow. But I was like, I'm not even surprised, because like again, it's within the community. It's just kind of like that kind of thing runs rampant. Like, I mean, look at the Duggars. The guy like molested his sisters and had like child porn, and now he's in jail. Lost custody, is divorced. That's what happens. So I'm not saying like all Christians are like sex deviants and like freaky and like have child porn, but like it's not uncommon for scandals like this to get uncovered within the community, especially with how conservative they are. And
Yes.
like I was never taught sex ed ever. I mean, South Carolina just sucks ass for that thing anyway, but like things like of that nature. I mean, the teenage boys in the school all had like crippling porn addictions, and like they would like all, you know, like it was like kind of like the open secret where like some of the students were sexually active and they just were never punished because their parents were considered like executives for like the church. So they were how you say, like they were like the Baptist word for like deacon or like financial advisor or whatever. So like there was a girl definitely doing things that she should not be doing before marriage. And she would like try to prod information about me because I had a boyfriend at 14. Like however like however you can have a boyfriend at your very conservative Christian school. And she's like, have you done it yet? I was like, done what? She's like, you know. I was like, hold hands. She's like, no, I'm talking about, and it's like, bleep, bleep, bleep. I was like, I don't even know what that is. Yeah, so
No, and I get that though, like the restrictive restrictive sex ed and stuff like that, because I feel like when I was a kid, we had pretty much informative, and because I went to public school. But I feel like it's definitely diminished since I went to school. I mean, obviously, the only things like I don't remember them talking about was like any sort of like gay sex protection, things like that. Like that's just not stuff we talked about. We talked about the P and the B and what they do together. They didn't talk about anything. Yeah, they didn't even like talk about masturbation. Nothing like that. So I know, because my children go to the same school I went to. Because I will say, even though it was really shitty, I got a great education, so that's the whole reason my kids go. I take that stuff into my own hands. So I'm like, hey, so you did talk about A, B, and C. We're going to go into D, E, F, and G. So we've had very many talks about masturbation and what sex looks like for gay couples, what sex looks like for lesbian couples, things of that nature, because it's better to be informed and find out from someone who does know than find out from people who don't know. And then you're not being safe. So, I mean, I didn't find out. I look like an idiot, honestly, when I was older because I didn't know about all that kind of stuff.
No, me neither.
And so that's why I take it upon myself. And my daughter is 15. And I forget how old she is sometimes.
No.
My daughter is 15. I had her when I was 16. So I make sure that we have those thorough conversations, that we are like in communication, because I know when it comes to school, they're not teaching half the stuff that they used to. So it's like, okay, we're going to have thorough conversations.
Yeah, I know their thing was like abstinence before marriage, like sex is for men and women who are married only. Like, yeah, I was like, I'm very much the firm believer. It's like, you gotta drive the car before I buy. You know what I mean? What if you like? I don't want to like go into something not knowing. Like, that's just me. Exactly. But I do, and I completely respect those who wait until marriage. I'm just not one of those gals. Sorry.
Nope, neither me.
I'm a freak. Sorry, I'm a sinner. But no, and then just like, I mean, whenever like something happens and it's like, oh, when like the Duggar thing happened, I was like, oh, I'm not surprised. Like it was so funny. Like the scandal happened, and by this time I had left the church. We had left the church. I still went to Christian school there, but we had left the church, I think. I was probably in like 10th grade when this broke, but like the Duggars were supposed to be guest speakers at the new church I was going to, and then the shit happened with what's his name, and they were like, actually we're going to be canceling those panels. I was like, oh my god. But no. So it sounds like we have very similar, I think maybe me on the more conservative end of not being able to have fun. Fun was illegal where I was raised.
Yeah. See, mine, it wasn't necessarily, but like they were like, we're going to put the fun in church. And then when
I wish. Maybe I would have actually grown up Christian if it was fun. If it didn't suck ass so bad, I probably would have like stayed a Christian and gotten saved. And like, I've actually never been baptized either.
Really?
I was just like, yeah, I never got around to it. I was like, I don't want to do that. Like, I don't want some guy holding my lower back who's like 30 years my senior, like dipping me in water. That's weird. You can see through my the white cloak thing that they give you.
Yeah.
I don't want to. Oh my god.
I don't think I was ever baptized, but I was saved multiple times. I think every church I went to, I was saved. And
yeah, I thought like something was just like I would be like, please Jesus, save my soul, amen. I thought like some like radiant golden beam would come down. I would just like no, and I was like, I don't feel any different. Is it working?
We had so in one of the reasons the appeal for mine is I was a really big emo kid. Like I was like I was able to wear like the red jeans and to color my hair. And,
I could wear that outside of school if I bought it with my own money from Delia's and Charlotte Russe, but I couldn't wear it to school. You know, it was one of those like I would wear these fits to the library, or I would wear these fits to the anime cons I would go to.
Yeah. So that was like my everyday aesthetic, and they had a really big thing at one of the churches I went to where the kids were straight edge. So they kind of like incorporated that stuff. So I was like, oh my God, like all these people, like they're, you know, we all like the harder music, but it's all Christian. So like I lived and breathed Flyleaf like it was my job, and like Switchfoot and like Skillet and
Skillet.
I think about it like, oh my God, I was disgusting. But then
that's so funny.
I was a completely different person than I was there. And I felt like a lot of it was because of the churches saying like, hey, you have to think this way. We have to all be collective. I was very big anti-choice for a long time. I remember going to like this event. We had this thing called One Fest that showed up in my town, which was this really big concert that was put on that had hundreds of Christian bands, and it was a lock-in that they had at a local college. And so they had like booths and stuff like that where people would buy stuff. And I remember really wanting like this anti-abortion shirt. And I now that I think about it, it was like, oh my God, that's so gross, because I'm not that same person anymore. And I was also a closeted bisexual girl. So like I knew I liked girls, but at the same time, because everyone's like, oh no, you're gonna go to hell if you're gay, like that's just weird. I remember like a lot of like smear the queer going on a lot. You know, that's there was a lot of stuff.
Just, you know, it was the early 2000s and early 2010s were like, it was like hunting grounds for anyone who's considered like deviant and, you know, not of, just like not of the norm. But no, I feel that like as someone who is like I would say I put myself under the queer umbrella, but it's like growing up, you know, never learned about it, never got to experience it, never got to explore anything like that. So it's like, well, I'd like to identify as this. However, it's kind of hard because it's like can't really like do stuff like even like holding, like my mom would like scold me for like holding hands with my friends like platonically, like walking around being like la 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 la, or like taking pictures. She's like, don't do that gay shit. I'm like, Margaret, leave me alone. Leave me be.
Yeah, for like thinking back, I'm a completely different person than I was then, and I think a lot of it had to do with like the wanting to fit in kind of thing, because there was even times that I was like, it makes me feel icky to talk about that, or to, you know, to be so close-minded. But at the same time, it was like, well, everyone is doing it, I don't want to stick out.
You also have to give yourself a little bit of grace because you were a child.
I was a child.
You are an adult person now. I mean, your frontal lobe is not fully developed, and I mean, peer pressure is totally real when you're a kid and stuff like that. Like, they think you're gonna get peer pressured into doing like drugs and sex and stuff. It's like, oh, I got peer pressured into like getting saved like 5 times because, or like going to like Jesus camps and stuff like that, because it's like, oh my God,
I went to so many.
I went to one. So many. I went to a couple. That's even fun. Oh, girl. One of the things, so whenever you reach junior high, which was 7th grade to senior year, with junior and senior high, the entire school, because it was so small, would go on what's called like retreat, which was basically like they would rent out this giant campground with these like dinky ass cement bunks in the middle of like, I I think it was like either Sumter or Orangeburg or Gadsden, or people from South Carolina will know this, but or like Hopkins, but like it was literally in the middle of nowhere, off like it was off the interstate. You would take a highway and then you take like a beaten path, and it was like this campground, I think, and they would rent it out every year, I think around like September, and we were there Thursday and Friday, just like one overnight, and it was like you would just like you were locked into all this Jesus crap. So it was like you get there, you go to lunch service, you go get preached at for, and then you go eat lunch, and then you can go piddle and play toys and like go to the lake or whatever, and then we'd have to like change and go to dinner service, get preached at before dinner, and then go to dinner, and then we would have like confession or whatever the hell it's called around the campfire, where we'd be like, I've been really struggling with again like porn, or like I've been really struggling with loving myself, or like my communication with Jesus. We'd all have like a kumbaya literally over around a fire, and we'd pray about it, and then we'd go to bed, and then we'd wake up at like 8 a.m., get ready, go to morning service, get preached at, then breakfast, and then it was like a repeat, and then by the time it was dinner time, we'd get preached at one last time, and then we could leave. Finally, I was like, God, I cannot stand like. Oh, and I mean, it was like the only time we could wear like like girls could wear basketball shorts, but girls had to wear like t-shirts and basketball shorts over their swimsuits, and we had to wear one-piece swimsuits, even though you're wearing clothes over. Sluts, no slutty bikinis, no tankinis or anything like that. I was like,
Yeah.
ugh.
Now that I think about it, like there were so many like camps I went to, and I was like so excited to go to them, and now I'm like, what was the desire to sit there and listen to someone?
What is the desire to like isolate children and like make them kumbaya for Jesus for like 36 hours and then like go about their business? Like, I don't know.
I feel
they thought we would crack.
They would always have like the live bands and stuff like that, and it was always like that emotional like Jesus saves us and blah blah, and like it was the music. I've actually read something on it too, that there is something scientifical that like the music, there was a way it like moves you, it moves your soul. It might not be the lyrics, it's just how the song devolves and like how it can bring out emotions and stuff like that. Because I remember there would be people bawling and crying and be like, oh my God.
I think it's like called like the live music effect or something, because there is so funny. You reminded me, it's like on Tumblr there was like a girl, she was like, I thought I was like a really devout Christian because every time they'd have rock concerts I'd cry and sob, but then I saw One Direction, I had the same reaction. I just found out I liked music. I was like, girl, me too. Yeah, same. Like,
no, really, same. But I remember like almost every time like being in tears because I was like, oh my God, I love Jesus so much. And then I realized that no, I just really
I just like singing and being like acoustic guitars and drums. Yeah, we didn't even have a budget for a band. We would just like get those like really dinky hymnal books from like the 50s that look like Bibles, and they'd be like, okay, turn to page 56 and we'll sing whatever hymnal, and we would sing that, and then we'd sing another one, and then be like, okay, time to yap about Jesus for an hour. And the thing I miss about like being raised Catholic is the sermons are like 90 minutes top. The bad thing about being like a Southern Baptist is these bitches will yap. Like, I remember my mom at the time, she was struggling with her blood sugar, and this dude, like the pastor would just, honestly, he would not shut the fuck up, and it would get so bad where my mom's blood sugar would drop and she would almost faint because she was so hungry. Because it's like, we were like, what, it's like on Sunday, we wake up at like 7 a.m., get there by 8 a.m., do like Sunday school and like small group for like, and then go to big boy service, and then that was like, what, like 9:30 a.m., and this guy would yap until like 11:30, 12 sometimes, and my mom is starving, so she'd have to buy these like, they're almost like sweet tarts, but they're like sugar capsules that would spike your blood sugar up real quick just so you don't faint. And she would like invest in these because it's like, she was like, I'm about to faint because this guy won't shut the fuck up. Please help. And I was like, girl, me too. Pass me one. I'm hungry. I want to go to Taco Bell after this. The best thing about I will say, as someone who worked in food service, I understand, but the best thing about going to church is leaving and going to Wendy's or Taco Bell, or like some poor, or tormenting some poor teenage waitress at Olive Garden. It is true. Christians are the worst customers. I actively hated working in food service on Sundays for after church. I'd literally, if I could go back in time, I'd probably catch a felony. with
I
how much I
no,
would probably
I
kill
hear
these
that.
people with how much horrible. It's like you're gonna preach how much you love Jesus and you're gonna call me a bitch because I like charged you $3 for a sweet tea and not $2.50. How are you? Come here. What
Yeah.
are you on?
One of the churches I attended for a little bit, they had a coffee bar in, so like you could go and get coffee and stuff like that. So
Man, you
that's
came
another
for
reason.
money. I don't know. I am nothing. I am nothing of the sort.
So like that was like an appeal to me, like going, and I'd go with, like, we'd get dressed up in the mornings, and then it would always be like after a sleepover, so we'd sleep over, wake up the next morning, we'd get dressed up for church, and then go to church, and it'd be free coffee. So we just tell them what we wanted, and then they would give it to us, and then we'd go to service, and it would always be like mini concerts. And I was like,
see,
oh my god,
it seems like you had a God. It seems like you had a fun experience because, like, I'd be lucky if I get like a Smarties or like a peanut butter cracker. I could sneak in and they yell at me
So,
for
like,
snacking. Like, I'm sorry,
that
I'm
experience
hungry.
was nice. But
Yeah.
then when it
Everything else
came
sucked.
to like everything else, though, it sucked. And it was like
Yeah.
very, my turning point was when I did get pregnant. I got pregnant with my daughter when I was 16. And my turning point was I had people come up to me and tell me they were no longer going to be my friend because I, was not following Jesus' path. And like, that's not something I should have done. I should have waited until marriage to have sex and blah, blah. And I remember one of my really good friends, her mom came up to me and she was like, she said the same thing. And I kind of bit back at her. I was like, then I wouldn't be pregnant and Jesus didn't have a plan for me to be pregnant right now. And she's like, that's not how it works. And I was like, how do you know?
Mm-hmm.
And that was like my, like, that was like my very much like leaving religion. Cause I entered in religion to make friends and because that's what everyone else was doing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I left.
Yeah. Let's leave.
Yeah. And I was like, all right, yeah, no, this isn't for me. And it wasn't until like after I graduated and I met other people and they were like, well, what do you think? And I was like, oh, I'm a Christian. They're like, are you really though? And I was like, what do you mean? Oh. And like having conversations with other people and I'd express like what I believed and like, oh yeah, you're not a Christian if you believe that. And I was like, oh, okay.
No.
Yeah.
I feel that. I feel like I lost my train of thought actually. I think my turning point was like I was able to, because my interests like anime manga, I was like an outsider. My dad caught on first and my mom was the one where we had to pull teeth with, so it's like I was actively depressed I wasn't like going out of my way and harming myself and like but I was like self-harming to like a surface level degree. Like I was scratching at myself, I was cutting at my legs, I was like dressing dark and spooky, I was like really obviously I'm very bubbly and I'm a yapper, but at the time I felt like I had grown up thinking I was a total introvert just because like of how I was, but now I'm like a complete 180 with my personality. I'm a yapper, you can't get me to shut up, blah blah blah. I love talking to people, I love making friends, but like I just was like I was literally like wilting like a flower, like I was like socially dying and draining, and my dad was like, we should probably like not have you here because it's like how much you've expressed like hating it here, like, and I would use the word hate, like I was like I hate it here, I hate these people, I hate like everything about this place. My mom was like she would dig her teeth into like, she was like, okay, you can leave this school and we'll put you in public school, but you still need to go to church. And I'm like, okay, that's fine, I can thug that out. So going to public school was awesome. After like I was like, oh my god, I can wear pants, yeah, let's go, I can wear shirts with my anime boys on them, Inuyasha, let's go. And I could like make friends. I made friends with like obviously like probably like the bottom of like the social pyramid. I was like friends with the furries and the emos and the anime kids, but like those were my friends and I had multiple of them, and like I wasn't in a class of like 20, I was in a class of like, I think my graduating class was like 400, and it was awesome. And I was like I obviously like I struggled a little bit because like the change of the environment was like really shocking because it's like huge school. I was like, oh, but I think after a little bit I was like, I think I got this. I made friends, I was going and doing stuff, I was joining clubs, I had boyfriends, I was like like my like I still like anime manga and I like had my friends, but I think there was a definite personality switch where I was like I was like, I'm not going to kill myself or threaten to kill myself if I drop a hat anymore. But it was funny because, like, the school I went to, it wasn't associated with a church or anything because it was a public school, but a lot of, like, you know, like the preppy and, like, Richie Rich kind of kids would go to this church that we were now members of, and they would clock me. It's like, ain't you that furry? Don't you like Naruto? I'm like, yeah. Why? They're like, why are you here? Naruto is evil. I'm like, I don't know, man. My mommy drove me here. I didn't really have a choice, okay? She's gonna tell me no Xbox for a week if I don't come here, okay? Leave me alone. I'm not here because I want to be. So it was like, I'd still have to go to, like, youth group and crap, and then I'd have to go to like teen group, which was like by grade, so it'd be like 9th grade girls, 10th grade, or like 9th grade co-op, 10th grade co-ed, 11th, 12th, etc. And then whenever I graduated high school, it was awesome because then I went to college, and then I had my Sundays to myself. I was like, yeah. And then I didn't like that school I went to, so I moved home. I was like, no, I have to learn. And then so it was funny. So, like, leaving the church, coming back home, living at home, being forced to go to church again, like as if I'm like still in high school, for a while. Whenever I lived with my parents, because I was like 19, I'm not going to get an apartment in this economy.
Yeah.
On a frozen yogurt cashier salary, $7.25 an hour, or yeah, no, I don't think I don't think so. So I'd still live with my parents, and my mom would be like, if you're gonna live with us, you're gonna have to go to church with us. Like, fine. So I started my old hijinks up again. So I would, we would go to church, we'd dress up on whatever, and then my mom would be like, all right, go to your youth group and whatever, and I would just sit in the hall. I'd sit in the hall with my iPod Touch because I didn't have a phone. Oh, no, I did have a phone at the time. I'd sit in the hallway with my iPod, like my iPhone 7 or whatever the hell model I had. I would just sit there, like, refreshing Twitter and, like, Facebook and crap like that until, like, the service would end, and then I would make it look like I had just come from youth group. I'd be like, hey guys, and they'd be like, oh, what'd you learn about? I'd be like, Judas, or Job, or Ruth, Ezekiel, I don't know, just like, I'd make something up. One thing about strict parents raise sneaky kids. Yes. And I'd just like, I just like lie and say, it's like, oh, we learned this, and this, and whatever. But eventually the facade fell because I guess like my mom was yapping with the person who was supposed to be running like the college or like the college age like youth group, and they're like, oh, we haven't seen Lily in a while, like what's going on? My mom was like, what do you mean you haven't seen Lily in a while? She's been going to Sunday church every single day with us. And so like my parents and my mom was like, what the fuck? Obviously this is an exaggeration. She's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, why aren't you going to church? And I'm like, I hate it. And so like there's this huge tiff between me and my parents, me and my mom, and she was like, yeah, just like, you think you're gonna go to hell? And like it was my dad who was like, why don't you want to go to church? Like, he was the only one who like was like, he sat down on like my bed with me. He's like, why are you doing this? Like, are you doing this to piss us off? Like, are you doing this because like whatever? And I was like, dead ass, New Yorker out of me. I was like, dead ass, these people don't like me. They bullied me in high school. Even the new church people, like, even because I was bottom tier, furry, nerd kid, like, none of these people are nice to me. They don't actively want to socialize with me. The only people who were nice with me were, like, the youth leaders because they had to be, because they needed me to come. He was like, he didn't, like, fully comprehend the reason why I wanted to leave Christian school, why I wanted to leave the church, is because, like, nobody liked me. Like, why, again, reiterating what I had said earlier, like, why do I want to be a part of these communities that don't want me? Like, I'm basically a social pariah because of, like, just who I am. So he was like, okay. He talked to my mom. He kind of, I guess he softened the blow, and he was like, here's the deal. You can have your Sundays. You can still live with us, and you can, like, not go to church with us, but you just, like, don't do anything, like, illegal or weird. And I was like, I'm not doing anything illegal or weird anyway. Don't really have the time. I'm sad and have to go on Tumblr and have to reblog Supernatural posts. Leave me alone.
So many liked experiences. No, because so many liked experiences. Yeah. So it's like, no,
we're very similar. No, like, I'm glad you are picking up what I'm putting down. Like, Yeah. So he's like, you can keep going to anime cons. You can have your Sundays to yourself. You'll just, like, you don't be, like, fanoodling and canoodling and like doing anything that we don't really want you doing. I'm like, I wouldn't be doing it anyway, so don't worry.
At least he listened to you. I mean, it could have been worse, and you could have had two parents like your mom and like didn't want to listen to you at all.
Yeah, I think
So that's a
it was,
positive.
and I think it was one thing that recently happened within like the past 2 years that I still think is insane that happened is I think a couple months before I moved to New York, my dad and I went out for breakfast because I don't know, I think he just wanted to hang out because like what we would do is like I do like when I moved out and I had my own apartment, I would still come over to my parents' house because by the time that my parents were empty nesters, my mom like chilled out and she was like, oh, I don't have to be a raging bitch anymore. I can be chill and like not traumatize my children religiously. So me and Margaret are chill. Like it was like just for like the first like 20 years of my life, she just had a vendetta against me. But she's like, we're going to Panera. I'll buy you some the tea that kills people or the lemonade that kills people. I'll buy you Red Bull. Yeah, I don't know if that's just like eldest daughter syndrome is like, my mom just didn't like me and now she does. We're chill now.
So that's what I was going to ask. Are you like the eldest? Like eldest?
Could you tell?
Well, no, I'm also the eldest.
Yeah,
so
the strongest men in the world are eldest daughters. So yeah, I was the eldest daughter, so I was like kind of like I was the one who was kind of like the guinea pig child where they would like put me in situations and then they'd see how it would go and then they would see whether or not my siblings would, you know, be ushered into that and I'd be like, why aren't they getting traumatized? I got traumatized. Why do they should? So thankfully they broke the chain a little bit, but like it was insane. So like my dad and I, we went out for breakfast because I don't know what, like, he's like, oh, I have a coupon for a brunch thing at Lizard's Thicket or something like that, and then we can go to Ollie's Wholesale and we could buy like expired cereal and look at the books because like I don't know, that's just what we did. He would be like, come hang out with me because I was a bit of a daddy's girl because we had very compatible personalities. So like he liked nerdy stuff, I like nerdy stuff. Him and I would just like, you know, shoot the shit. We had very similar personality and humor, so we would be like, let's go get brunch. I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. I didn't think anything of it. And then him and my brother had, I guess, spoken to each other like a couple days prior because my brother, I guess, is like a reconverted Catholic now because my brother, Timmy, hi Timmy, if you're watching this, hi. He is heavily involved in like the Latin community and where he lives. He's involved with like the Spanish community, like a lot of Mexican, Venezuelans, Puerto Ricans where he lives. So, and they're mostly Roman Catholic or Catholic. So he just converted to Catholicism because it's easier than being like Southern Baptist. And him and my dad were talking and like, I guess Tim told my dad, like, because they never really talked to me about this, and I like, why would you come to your parents with this as a teenager? Because it's like I said, it was embarrassing. But Tim was like, you didn't know Lily was getting like insanely bullied at school and church. Like, how could you not? Like, we would fight. Like me and Tim, like my siblings and I would fight. Even I knew they were getting bullied. Like the kids in like Tim's class like had siblings in my grade and he would like find out that their siblings were bullying me and it would just come down like the grapevine is like, oh, my friend's brother is bullying my sister or like yada. So like my dad and my brother talked about that and my dad brought that up with me and he's like, is this true? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, well, why didn't you tell me? Like I was like, I had given an example of another student at my school who was a couple grades above me and he was like tormented. Like he was definitely neurodivergent. He was very nerdy, shy, played an instrument, and he was like their social pariah of their class. And he didn't drop out, but he became homeschooled. And it was just like, oh, so-and-so's homeschooled now. Whatever. He's doing great now. He's married with a couple kids, which is awesome for him. He got out. He's normal. But when he brought that up, he was like, oh, when so-and-so like got homeschooled, I was like, yeah, like that same shit was happening to me, but it's like, I'm not going to come to you, my parents, and tell you, hey, this Christian school, this very safe and somewhat supposedly loving community is viciously bullying me and making me like, I'm in like my own emotional pit of despair. Like, why would I come to you with that? Like, it's embarrassing, you know, like, it's like, right. You don't come to your parents, like, because it's like, obviously your parents, like, want to be there for your child, and you want your parents to be there for you, but it's like, it's so, like, again, the word is embarrassing. It's like, it's embarrassing to tell your parents you're getting bullied in the situation that they put you in. So it's like, he didn't fully like, comprehend, because it's like I was getting bullied at church, I was getting bullied at school, I was getting bullied at the new church with the public school kids. So he was like, oh, okay, yeah, okay, yeah. And he apologized. He was like, when my dad apologized, I was like, oh, you know what? This definitely absolves you from the decade of emotional and religious torture I have went through. So like that was freaky. Like my mom hasn't apologized. I don't think she ever will. But like my dad apologizing was definitely like a huge step in like our relationship.
Yeah.
I mean, it was never really damaged to begin with. It was just kind of like, I'm not religious and you are, and it's like not really part of my life, but it's a big part of your life. So we respect each other now about that. So I'm like,
apologies can definitely go a long way. Like sometimes it's just what you need to hear. Like someone not, even if you, like you had said, like your relationship necessarily wasn't bad, but you have a better relationship now because of the apology and working on it. Like that is amazing that actually happened.
Like,
because
I didn't know I needed it. Yeah,
right.
like I didn't know I needed something like that until it happened. I was like, oh, nice. This feels good, actually. Yeah. So it was awesome. It was definitely like good, and like I feel a lot better again. My mom and my dad are still like, it's funny because my dad's more on the Catholic side. He completely broke off from being Southern Baptist. He's like, they keep begging me for money. It's annoying. Like, stop. He's like, all they do at these Southern Baptist church is they beg for money and they harass me for my tithe. And I'm like, I'm just going to go back to being Catholic where they're chill and at least I can drink. So now my dad drinks wine and stuff. And my mom still is a Southern Baptist, but she does it more for like the socialization. She found she's been through like, I think since I left home, like 3 churches, and she found one that she likes, and she's got a couple buddies there. So I mean, he goes to his church, she goes to hers, and they're just kind of like, they're fine now.
I'm all good for religion as long as your religion isn't hurting other people, and definitely if you're not forcing it upon your children.
And that's what Southern Baptism was. It was hurting other people.
Exactly.
It was very much the groups of people like with the pickets outside of Planned Parenthood calling women sluts and like you're going to hell for killing your unborn baby. It was these people going door to door telling, it's like, would you like to hear about our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ? And if you don't, you're going to hell. And just getting like, and like I think with that thing, it's like kind of like exposure therapy to like, see, these people don't want to hear about Jesus, they want to go to hell. Isn't it good that you know about Jesus and you're going to heaven? And all these other things. I was like, so yeah, my relationship with religion is very weird.
No, I feel the same way. With us, we took a different approach with our kids because my husband and I are not religious, we're atheists, but we never, like, if our children were to come to us and be like, hey, I want to learn about this. My daughter actually did. I think she was like 7, 8. I think her big thing is, again, same thing that happened to me. Everyone at school talked about going to church. And I was like, I don't know, like, I'd rather you be older so you can actually comprehend what they're saying. And she was like, no, I want to go. And I was like, okay, I'll let you go. But you need to tell me everything that happens at church. She went one time and she's like, yeah, nope, I don't want to go back. And I was like, okay. I was like, if you change your mind. Yeah, I was like, if you change your mind when you're older, I don't mind if you go, but I do want you to come home and have discussions with me and not just take everything with a blind eye. And
like break it down with me, Mama and Papa.
Yeah, I was like, because I don't want her to be brainwashed in any way by anything. And but at the same time, I respect my children. Like, if they want to believe in something, they can believe in something. That's fine. But I don't want them to be led by like a crazy cult.
Blind faith. Yeah. No.
Blind faith. Like, actually have like reasons of why, like, not just because someone said you have to believe that way. What are the reasons of why?
And like not get scolded as to asking why.
Exactly. So yeah, my oldest has never wanted to go back. My youngest, she's at that age now where a lot of people in classes and schools are on the playground and they'll bring up something and she's like, I don't know what that is. And sometimes I'm like, maybe I should have exposed her a little bit so she knows what people are talking about. But at the same time, I was like, no, I think you're kind of better off not knowing and then knowing more when you're older and you're ready to comprehend. Because a second grader does not understand that. Yeah. I'm not going to put her into an environment of that. She can kind of make that decision when she's older. But my husband and I have always felt that same way, that we will never push a religion or anything on our children. But if they choose to do something, we want to make sure they go into it in a logical way.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I am happy that like your dad actually ended up listening to you though. And it was like, hey, you know, I guess you don't have to go. Like, it's okay.
Yeah.
Like,
and I was like, that kind of came out of left field for me because I was like, I never thought like they'd apologize because they're like, boomers, like kind of like hardened in their way. You know how it is. I mean, everyone is kind of stubborn, but I just didn't think they'd take accountability for my suffering.
Yeah.
Which is like, oh, feels good.
Yeah.
So. And they don't push it. Like, they don't ask me, like, oh, I'm going to church or I'm praying. I think the most my dad will do is, like, I would tell him, it's like, oh, I need, like, I was looking for a job in New York to move here, and he sent me, and I still have, and it's really funny, I have these, because Catholicism, I have the saints, so I have the patron saint of, like, finding a job, and like the patron saint of like depression and like health, and so I have a couple patron saint cards in my wallet just because he gave them to me, and I think that's just kind of like his way of like looking out for me without like infringing on like, hey, don't like ask me to go to church or anything like that, otherwise I'm gonna tweak like real hard in front of you.
It's more or less these are from your dad, not these are
they're gifts from him to me instead of like him trying to like win me back over to Jesus and stuff.
Yeah. No, but that's really sweet. And I really like that for you. Like the fact that you have that kind of relationship. Like, I'm really jealous.
I think it's cute. Yeah. I think like, even though you had a little bit more, like, we had different upbringings and, like, different sides of the spectrum, it's still the same spectrum.
Yes.
So two sides of the same coin kind of thing.
Yes. But you are definitely a lot more strict in some areas than
it sucks, dude. Yeah, I'm trying to think of one more story. Okay, I can tell one more story that I brought this up on my TikTok. But I think it was one of the first things. So one of the strict things was like, again, girls had to wear skirts, and I mean, they had to be like knee to ankle length, but sometimes like with like the fashion at the time, like it was really hard to find long enough skirts. So girls would wear skirts that were like to their knees, but when they would sit down, they would maybe go a little bit above their knee. And I mean, we were in like these little tinky desks with like, you could see like our legs. So I remember we were in a co-ed Bible class. I think it was 7th and 8th grade boys and girls, or maybe it was like 9th grade boys and girls, something like that. And my teacher, who was the Bible teacher at the time, it was a man, fucking always is.
Yeah.
He was like, I just need to ask the gentleman of the class to step outside really quick. I want to speak with the ladies really quick. And he just like kicked out all the boys really quick. And the thing that made it really freaky was his daughter was in this class with us. So it was like him, his daughter, and all these like middle junior high girls who he was like basically insinuating. I don't remember how he like phrased it, but basically he was insinuating that like when we sit down, we need to have our knees together because he could see up our skirts. And as like a 14-year-old, I was like,
yeah,
I'm a child. I'm this many years old. I'm this many. Why are you looking up there? Like keep your eyes up.
Right.
Like the Lord was, like, so that was just like, what's going on, you guys? That's so crazy gross, dude.
Yeah.
And your daughter's in the damn class with us, dude. Or at least, like, get, like, a female teacher to come in and, like, be like, hey, girly pops, you know what Jesus would love? If you were to sit more ladylike, cross your legs, or, like, do a little whatever. And he was like, yeah, stop being sluts. You can see your Hello Kitty panties, freak. I'm not the problem. You are, and you're 13. Oh my god. Yeah. So like that's the kind of shit I had to deal with. So yeah, I'm very normal. I'm very cool.
You're fucking hilarious.
I think the reason why I'm so funny is because I'm so traumatized.
No, I get that. Yes, I think you gotta laugh about your trauma, otherwise you're gonna cry about it.
Yeah, it's like the one thing I did use to cope while I was in school was like, obviously I was the weird kid that no one fucking liked, but if I could like get a giggle or two out of a couple people, I was like, yes.
Yeah,
same. It's hard to do. Yes. So same. I was like, at least like, oh, the emo anime kid is, I was like, well, at least I'm not ugly.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, oh, snap. Because it's like, I kind of called them a fuggo or something like that. I can only call them like an idiot or like stupid poo-poo head or like, very Christian, like PG-13 and under swears. I think get creative is basically what I'm saying.
Yeah. No, and I get that. I love it when people bring comedy into stuff. I will have to say this is probably one of the funniest podcasts that I've done.
Yeah,
just because
you want to go to the therapy session? Yeah, I made the shrink laugh. I'm winning in psychology. That's me.
No, because I totally get it. You have a lot of like the, you do this way. I do hella dead dad jokes. Like that is my thing.
You're like, let me just put that dead dad card in there real quick. Let me just season the joke in with like the fact that my dad is dead. Yes, by the way. Yeah. It's like, oh, you can't make fun of it because that's traumatic for me. But anyway, my dad is dead, by the way. No. It's like, it's low hanging fruit, but it hits every time.
No, because I can do that. I can do kidnapping jokes. There's like so many that I can
Wait, when we get off camera, we gotta kiki about that a little bit.
But no, like there's so many different things they can do, but it very much tends to my trauma in the sense. So I totally get like you're cracking jokes. For all the audio listeners, I'm really hoping that they'll actually put on the video and just see how much I
speak with my hands and I'm doing I honestly, if I wasn't such a chicken, I'd probably do stand-up comedy. If it was funny, I don't know. Just put a microphone in front of me and just be like, meh. But I think and I think another thing with like how I developed my sense of humor is one, I think I just am naturally funny and I have flair and I was extroverted. I just was a suppressed extrovert, but I was also chronically online because I had no friends. Remember I also had no friends. That's so crazy. So I just go online. I was on DeviantArt. I was on, I still am on Tumblr. I'm on Facebook. I was on all these other sites. And one more traumatizing story, and I'll try to wrap it up. But whenever I was in middle school, I had a blog. I had a blogger.
You're a blogger.
I was a blogger girl, and it was basically just like my very emo, and I'm talking like emo edgelord, My Chemical Romance, Pierce the Veil, Black Veil Brides, like edgelord, and like I had like a really super dark theme. I got like all my pictures off, like stolen art off of DeviantArt. Sorry guys, God forgave me for that. Sorry, but anyway, I would get like all just very like emo, edgy, and I would talk about like all this stuff that like only like close friends would know, like nothing like horrible, just like how much I hated myself and how much I hated my school and how bad it was, and just like how much like just pure teen angst, Yes. But all good things must come to an end, and someone from my Christian school found my blog because I think I thought I could be safe and give it to like one friend who I had at the school, but I think maybe her mom had found it, or like I had written something. Girl, you know where this is going. She thought like, or maybe I don't really know what went down because this was probably like that was probably the closest day I ever went to either running away or killing myself, because it was just so horrible. Someone found my blog, reported it to my Christian school principal, called my father out of his job to meet with him, and like sat my dad, like my daddy, down and was like, "What's this? What's your daughter writing? Look at all this edgy shit. That's not very godlike of your daughter." And so basically, like, my dad came home and was like, he kind of like let my mom do it, because my mom, again, she was like my op for like the longest time. She's like, "I'm gonna make this girl's life hell." I was like, "Oh great, thanks, Margaret." So like basically, like they were like, "We found your blog. How could you like say all this nasty shit and like blah 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 and like whatever." And basically, I had to delete every single piece of social media that I had. Obviously, I didn't fucking delete all of my social media because I was a sneaky, vindictive bitch, and I was like, I'm not letting these stupid Christian school freaks and dictators like control my life. So I deleted most of the stuff, but I had alternative email addresses. Don't tell my mommy. So I deleted basically all of the super level, like all the superficial or surface level crap, but I still had like secret Twitters. I still had my Tumblr and stuff like that. But I was like screaming, crying. I was like, Oh my god, I should have been like locked up in like a fucking padded room. Like how like I was like when they like when they describe hell of like got like people gnashing their teeth and moaning. That's what it felt like. I was like, holy fuck, this sucks ass. And then my dad was like, please don't kill yourself. Sorry this happened. You can't have Facebook anymore. And then and then I was like, So that sucked ass. That was probably like leading up to me, like that was like very close. That was probably one of the straws that broke the camel's back, but they just kept breaking my back in other places. So
did your blog go like all over your school, or did it only?
No, it was only so. Again, I had maybe 2 or 3 friends at the Christian school, and that I thought I could trust. So, like one girl I definitely know would never snitch on me. I know she's very tight-lipped. Shout out Micah, love you, bitch. She would never do it. But another friend, or maybe the friend's mom that I may have spilled it to, they might have been the person who snitched.
Okay.
And to this day, but I don't know. To this day, I don't know. I'll never know. I guess when I die and like meet whatever deity is up there and be like, hey, who was the fucking snitch who ruined my life? I need to know. So that way, when I'm reborn a lotus flower, I can go and I can fucking kill them myself.
Well, I didn't. Do you remember the show Awkward?
Yes. Oh my god, yes.
No, I didn't know if it was like
she's just like me. She's just like me for real. She's just like me if she was raised in a podunk southern town where everyone fucking hated her and I did not have sex.
But no, I didn't know if it was like a Jenna thing where like everyone found your blog, or luckily it was still just very like not.
I think if everyone had found my blog, I would have become like a social, like an even worse, like harsher social pariah than I already am. And it probably like God only knows what would have happened if like other people found my blog. And I was like,
no, that makes sense.
Don't really want to know. Hopefully that never happened. Thank God. But that sucked ass. That was one of the like that's like a pretty traumatizing thing. I remember that's a deep cut for me.
Yeah, no, I bet, like, because that was like your outlet to like let out all your frustrations,
like bleeding heart.
Yeah, and then it's like someone being like, nope, now you don't have this anymore. So sorry. Now you got to delete everything of it.
Yeah, so sucks ass, but I don't know. In the end, I'm seasoned adult now. I'm doing all right. Again, anything religious or any religion topics kind of come with a grain of salt with me. I mean, I'm not gonna like ding on people who are religious. I understand it's like difference of opinion and belief, but that's just my experience, and that's my trauma dump.
Yeah. Well, thank you for taking your
so
trauma.
Oh god, it was a lot to dump, wasn't it?
Honestly, I think this was
sweating up a storm.
Really great episode. You just have like this energy about you, and I absolutely love it.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
But yeah, if anyone that's listening, if you want to come on and dump your trauma, you can send me an email at sorryfortraumadumpingpodcast@gmail.com. It's really long, but you won't forget it. There's also a Facebook group, a Facebook page, Instagram, TikTok, everything other than Twitter or X, because fuck Elon Musk. And as always, please share this, like, subscribe, rate, all of that good things. New episodes come out every Monday. And that's going to wrap up this episode. Thank you again, Lily, for coming on. I truly appreciate you sharing your story.
I'm glad I got to run my yapathon. Run my yapathon around you. But yeah, thank you so much for having me, everyone. Yeah. Hope you guys found some comfort in my pain. I joke, but I mean, if you or a loved one are experiencing religious trauma, there are multiple outlets that you can seek.
Exactly. All right, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.